Alive, alive, alive! Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm coming your way for, guess what? You guessed it, another retro VHS showcasing video. So, one day recently, not too terribly long ago, I was naked, completely naked, lying in the bathtub, and it occurred to me, I don't know why this occurred to me, in the bathtub. Maybe I was thinking of, I don't want to talk about it. The beginning of the movie with the chick taking a shower, but it occurred to me, the Funhouse is a movie that I've got on DVD, and then I got on Scream Factory Blu-ray, and it occurred to me, it's a movie that Keith showed me, a childhood friend of mine showed me in the 90s, I think, and I didn't really care much about it at the time. But then when I got older, I came across the DVD and I'm like, wow, it grew on me, and I really started to, I'm to the point now where I really like the Funhouse Tobe Hooper movie from 1981. And I was just laying in that warm water, completely naked in the bathtub, and it just occurred to me, an old, how I like to get old Laserdisc or old VHS versions of like the original film to tape transfers of beloved movies and stuff. It's like, God, I only own the Funhouse on widescreen DVDs or widescreen Blu-rays, and I've never owned the VHS or the original Laserdisc pan and scan. I did some research. I don't think there's even a North American Laserdisc released of the Funhouse in the 80s. I think it's the early 90s. Universal did put out a widescreen Laserdisc, but that doesn't really quench my thirst for a pan and scan version. So it occurred to me, there's like a Japanese Laserdisc from the 80s, but I'm not really interested in that. And so then I'm like, well, the next best thing is a VHS from the 80s, and it turns out there was some people on eBay had like the original VHS, and understandably they wanted kind of more than I was willing to pay for it. But I did come across this, which is unfortunately cut down for clamshell, or cut down for video store, rental clamshell thing, but it's a release from 1990 that, as we will see later on in the showcasing, it does have an older actual cassette in a 1990 box. But I'm stopping on by to showcase this VHS, North American VHS release of the Funhouse from 1990. So I did get this video cassette off eBay. I paid under $20 for it. Incidentally, if there's a buy it now on eBay and you're interested in a buy it now, you should, something that I've learned over the months is that you should, the best thing to do instead of just paying the buy it now price is favorite it and wait a couple days. And sure enough, with this release, I favorited it. I put it on my favorite list, and I think within a day or two, the guy knocked $3 off. He sent me an offer and knocked $3 off. So I mean, money, $3 earned, $3 saved is $3 earned, and I've done that a lot on eBay, like this in the past months, this year, or not this year because this year just started, but in the past year, and I'm like, if you can save $1 here, $3 there, it definitely adds up. So if there's a buy it now without an option to make an offer, you still might be able to get it cheaper by just putting it on your favorites and waiting a couple days, and you may or may not get an offer from the seller at a reduced price. So that's what happened with me. As you may know, I've been with half price and stuff the past year or so, maybe even a little more than a year, I've been getting into, finding a lot of VHSs at half price books and stuff, and getting into VHS again, kind of strangely enough, and even watching some of them and enjoying watching them and stuff. So, yeah, this is the first VHS I think I've bought on eBay since, I don't know, the early 2000s, when I bought like a VHS version of Don't Go in the House or something, or when I was buying New Year's Evil VHS cassettes before they were on DVD or Blu-ray or anything. So it's the first VHS I bought on eBay in a long time. I would have, I was in the market for a pan and scan Laserdisc, but apparently, unless there's just currently none on eBay, which is possible, but I guess I could have researched a little further. But what I saw on eBay anyway, there may not be an original like pan and scan North American Laserdisc release, so I settled for the next best thing. As we can see on the back top corner, copyright 1990, MCA Home Video Incorporated, all rights reserved, printed in USA. Taking a closer look at the front cover, this would have been, I think, very similar to the original North American VHS release, which I'm not willing to pay what people were asking for. On eBay, I kind of got the best of both worlds with a kind of more modern VHS release. This is probably the last VHS release in North America that was distributed by MCA. Universal Home Video would go on to be distributed on VHS in North America by the Bad Times, Good Times Home Video, probably long play / LP mode, which I wasn't gonna be a fan of that, so I got this one. I really like the artwork, just the black background with like the green border on the red, the Funhouse logo from the director who brought you the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Great tagline here: pay to get in, pray to get out. And although I do like the poster artwork in general, not crazy about this kind of goofy ass Jack-in-the-Box with the hatchet, which is not seen, or at least not that I'm aware of. It's not seen in the movie as far as I know. But I guess it's kind of creepy. It's always a little bit of a bummer to see something on the cover. And in this case, I don't really like this because I don't like clowns. But if someone did see this on the cover and like that scary, apparition clown Jack-in-the-Box thing with the hatchet and it doesn't appear in the movie, they might be kind of pissed off. Very understandably. So kind of echoes the cover art what would end up happening for Child's Play 2. Right around the same time this VHS cassette here was released. A year later, I think, 91 for Child's Play 2 on VHS. On the bottom corner, you can see stereo. On the bottom, you can see copyright 1981, Universal City Studios Incorporated. All rights reserved for the release year of the film in the theaters. And in the other bottom corner, the 90s, early 90s MCA Universal Home Video logo, which I think even still, all these years and decades later, I still think that looks really cool and modern. Since this particular VHS release box was cut up to fit in this clamshell video rental box, we've only got one spine, the right spine in this case. Taking a look at that, the early 1990s MCA Universal Home Video logo. I think they'd use that probably until maybe 1997 or 98 is when they changed the logo before movies. I think the first movie to feature the changed logo before a movie might have been The Lost World, Jurassic Park, possibly. The same kind of Funhouse red, white on red with a green border kind of thing. I'm assuming that's the logo that was on the original theatrical poster. I think the cover on this is basically the original theatrical poster, if I'm correct. Further down the spine, we can see Hi-Fi there and the Dolby Surround stereo logos that MCA Universal Home Video was using at the time. Looks like we've got a catalog number of 55051. Taking a look at the back, what we've already seen already, early 90s MCA Universal Home Video logo and your release year, and I guess your all-important warning copyright information they get out of the way up in the top corner there. Barcode, and it does say VHS on the other top corner. The Funhouse logo, once again from the director who brought you the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. As we can see, color 1 hour and 36 minutes, rated R. Couple of images to sell the video cassette here. A picture of the scary ass fat woman, just animatronic thing, sitting underneath the Funhouse logo from the film, and a really romantic date picture of Mr. Guy and Mrs. Chick. The guy just trying to talk her into enjoying the the evening or whatever's going on there. It seemed to be a carnival funhouse, just like any other. Mysterious, eerie, scary, but all in good fun. Yet it wasn't just any funhouse. In this one, there was murder, and the horror became real. The story concerns 4 teenagers who visit a local carnival for a night of innocent amusement. They soon discover, however, that there is nothing innocent or amusing there at all. Instead, they find absolute terror when the four are trapped inside the maze of the funhouse. One by one, each victim is taken by a monster who tauntingly stalks them. Abbreviated credits can be seen at the bottom there. Elizabeth Berridge, who'd go on to be, of course, in Amadeus. And I can only assume she's in other things as well. These two, that Amadeus and this movie, are the only ones I've seen her in. And if you look at the directors, if you're lucky enough to watch the director's cut of Amadeus, you get to see her bosoms in that, in addition to seeing her bosoms in this this film as well. So, you know, she show bosoms every time in a movie, possibly. We've got Cooper Huckabee, who plays the boyfriend, and these other people who play the other people. Information at the bottom can be seen here, a universal release. Read the Jove book. So I guess there's a novelization of this movie, which would be interesting. Once again, copyright 1981, Universal City Studios Incorporated, all rights reserved. Taking a look at the VHS cassette itself, this is where it kind of gets interesting. The cover is printed in 1990, but as you can see here, this is a mid to late 80s MCA home video logo, and you can see under that actually copyright 1987 MCA home video incorporated, all rights reserved. So we've got a cover from 1990, but a cassette itself, or I guess I should say, well, yeah, the cassette itself and the label from 87, because I was going to say the label from 87, but the you know, the tape, I watched the movie on this version, and it's got the, you know, 1987 MCA home video logo before the movie starts. So not only is it the 87 label, but I can tell by having watched it, it's the 87 cassette. So I wouldn't have, I don't know if I would have, I guess I think at the time it was the only non-Good Times home video version one on there. So even if the cassette had been like 1990, I might have gotten it anyway, but I was glad that it was a 87 cassette in a 1990 cover, because I was, you know, looking to get an older VHS if possible, because you guys might know I'm into those. But this is incidentally like the perfect year, because you know, the very first North American VHS cassette release probably wouldn't have been hi-fi. It might have been that weird thing which I still don't understand, like, you know, non-hi-fi stereo, which I don't understand how that worked at all. But this one, at least being from 1987, is VHS hi-fi and stereo, and as you can see, Dolby surround as well. And for those not using hi-fi stereo VCR, you've got your Dolby BNR as well. So this cassette is actually a perfect blending of the best of both worlds. It's not the original VHS release from North America, but it's still in the 80s, and so I mean, I guess the one from the, you know, if they actually made a cassette from to go with the 1990 cover with the 1990 label and the more modern 1990 logo before the movie starts on the actual cassette itself, that probably would contain the exact same film to tape pan and scan transfer, so it probably wouldn't matter. But I was delighted when I saw on the auction, or the buy it now on eBay, that this actually came with a cassette from 1987. As you can see, the label's seen better days, a little, you know, whatever, slowly but surely pushing 40-year-old cassette and 40-year-old label. You can kind of see how it's dirty there, or whatever, just aging. Maybe that's the glue underneath the label or whatever, but you can kind of barely discern the MCA, whatever, the blue watermark, MCA Universal Home Video, or whatever the hell's the watermark says there. The classic Funhouse logo, of course, can be seen, as well as everything else I mentioned, and color, 1 hour and 36 minutes, rated R. It's a lot of information. You've also got Dolby, and the Dolby logo are trademarks of Dolby Laboratories Licensing Corporation. Of course, you've got the line with your all-important warning copyright information, and as always is, I think, pretty much the case with an MCA home video cassette release, bottom corner, printed in USA. this was a really fun video cassette to acquire, and I wasn't going to wait to try to find it at half-price books or anything. There's a lot of these tapes that, you know, like this one that just popped in my head out of nowhere that I was just like, wow, it'd be cool to come across that at half-price books. And I'm like, you know what, I'm not even going to wait. Let's just buy it on eBay. And I'm going to try to put some just screenshots. I'll just take a picture or video or something of the TV playing this tape, hopefully, and show you what the non-widescreen, the pan and scan version looked like in the 80s, and the version that I, you know, would have obviously seen for the very first time when Keith showed me this movie. When I first saw it, when Keith first showed me this movie in the early 90s, it was really fun to see, you know, being so familiar with the widescreen version. It was really interesting to go back and see the pan and scan version and to see some of the, you know, the pans and scans, or in some case the cutting from one side of the screen to the other, or some abrupt pans and scans, you know, very quickly from one side to the other. Just really, really a strange era back in the 80s before, you know, before, I guess, widescreen TVs and widescreen, you know, DVDs and laser discs and Blu-rays, and, you know, when they took a really, really wide movie and had to try to fit it into a box, and that just would have been really interesting to basically just see behind the scenes of, you know, the guy, you know, the guy. And the funny thing is, like, whoever made these decisions to pan and scan movies and what to show at what point, or whether to cut from one side to the other, or quickly pan or slowly pan, I mean, all, you know, these people do all this work, and it's like their names are never, you know, it's kind of almost an art form in itself to decide, you know, what, on a wide frame, what are you going to show at what point, and do you cut from one side to the other, do you pan quickly, do you pan slowly? It's almost kind of an art form, and it's like, God, these people who did it, it's like, well, their names aren't anywhere, they don't get any credit for doing this, and it's just kind of like, yeah, so it'd be interesting to see behind the scenes from like the 80s or something, people, you know, trying to, you know, format one of these many, you know, widescreen movies from the time into a pan and scan version, and it was really fun to watch this. And oh my God, I got what I was hoping to get. Fortunately, the video cassette was in really good shape. The hi-fi did kind of get, you know, I did watch it in like hi-fi and stuff, and it did, early on it was like, you know, tracking and stuff, and I was just like, you know what, I'll just turn hi-fi off. I'm not watching it in stereo anyway, so I'll just turn hi-fi off and just watch it with the linear audio track. But other than that, like, the, you know, the tape was in really good shape, and it was just so fun to see this archaic, abysmal version of this movie, because like I say, I've probably only seen this version once when Keith showed it to me in the early 90s, and it was really fun. You know, ideally would have been nice to, in the perfect world, to have a North American Laserdisc release of this, but since there were no North American Laserdiscs on eBay, and possibly ever made at all, I opted for this video cassette release, which definitely quenched my thirst for an early ancient home video release, or an early ancient film-to-tape transfer of the Funhouse. So this was definitely a fun tape to acquire, and luckily for me it turned out to be a relatively decent quality cassette with like no problems, or there wasn't even like the crinkly tape during the shower scene or anything, which you might expect or something. So guess that pretty much does it for this showcasing. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll catch you on the next video.